Hey everyone, welcome back. Ready for another deep dive?
Always ready.
Today we're going way back in time to explore a chapter from the Yellow Emperor's classic of internal medicine.
Ooh, a classic.
Right. Thousands of years old this text is. Really ancient.
And full of insights, I bet.
Definitely. And, a listener wrote in asking about how ancient Chinese medicine viewed the connection between geography and lifestyle and health.
Interesting.
Yeah, so this chapter actually poses this really thought-provoking question to this legendary physician named Qibo. It asks, if different treatments work for the same illness, what could explain those variations?
Makes you wonder.
Right.
Well, the text dives into this by talking about what it calls the disposition of the land.
Disposition of the land.
Yeah, basically saying that geography, it isn't just about the physical landscape. It's like deeply connected to our health and well-being.
Okay, I'm listening.
So the text breaks down these different regions of ancient China, the east, west, north, south, and central. And it goes into how each area's environment kind of shapes the diet, lifestyle, and even the common ailments people experience.
So it's like this personalized health map based on where you live.
You could say that, yeah.
I like it. So let's start with the east. It describes this coastal region where people eat a lot of fish and salt.
Makes sense.
And it even mentions fish having this warming effect and salt affecting the blood.
Yeah, in traditional Chinese medicine, they believe certain foods have these inherent energetic properties. Like fish being rich in protein and healthy fats would have been seen as providing warmth and nourishment, right? Especially in a, damp and cold coastal environment.
So it's not just the food itself, but its energetic effect on the body.
Exactly.
Okay, cool. And then there's this mention of sharpened stones as a key treatment in the East. What do you think that means?
I think it's probably referring to lancing and draining, which would have been crucial for treating skin issues, right?
Oh, yeah.
Abscesses and ulcers.
Right.
Think about it. Humid, salty environment.
Yeah.
Perfect conditions for those sorts of skin challenges.
Makes sense. So the East has this whole vibe of warmth and moisture and skin health.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Now let's switch gears to the West. The text describes a rugged terrain, rich foods, and a population that's less vulnerable to external factors.
Sounds pretty nice.
Yeah, right? Like almost idyllic.
But there's a trade-off.
Oh.
The text suggests that while the people of the West might have been super hardy, this could actually lead to internal imbalances.
Interesting.
So they used what the text calls poisonous herbs.
Poisonous herbs.
Yeah, but it really just means potent herbal medicines, to address these internal issues.
Ah, okay. So their resilience made them less susceptible to outside forces, but maybe more prone to internal imbalances?
Yeah, something like that.
Fascinating. So we've got the warmth of the East, and then the tough but potentially imbalanced West. Where to next?
Let's head north.
North. Okay.
Picture a freezing cold landscape, and the people there relying heavily on dairy for sustenance.
Okay, yeah, I'm starting to get chills just thinking about it.
Well, that brings us to the concept of cold accumulation. Now, it's not just about feeling cold, but this buildup of cold energy in the body. And according to the text, this can really affect your organ function and overall health.
Hold on. Cold energy. What exactly does that mean?
So think of it like this. In traditional Chinese medicine, having balanced energy, or qi, it's essential for health, right?
Okay.
Well, excess cold can actually disrupt this flow, leading to stagnation and potentially, all sorts of health issues.
So imagine your internal system's getting all sluggish and stiff from the cold.
Exactly, and that's where moxibustion comes in.
Moxibustion.
It's this warming technique that involves burning dried mugwort near specific acupuncture points.
Wow.
It's like bringing a little bit of that external fire inside to fight the cold.
Interesting. So each region has its own unique set of challenges and ways to restore balance.
You got it. And that's what makes this text so insightful, right?
Right.
It recognizes this interconnectedness between where we are and how we feel.
Okay, I'm hooked. Let's keep going. What else does this ancient text have in store for us?
Well, how about a trip south?
South, okay.
Imagine lush vegetation, lots of moisture, and a diet rich in sour flavors.
That's quite a contrast from the frozen north.
Right.
I wonder how this environment impacts health.
Well, the text suggests that the South's weaker soil and dampness could lead to things like muscle contractions, paralysis, or general weakness.
That makes sense. All the dampness could really get to your muscles and joints.
And they had specific treatments for this, too.
I bet they did.
The text highlights gentle needling techniques.
Interesting.
It's like they understood that a gentler, more subtle approach was needed in the South.
Okay, so we've covered the East, West, North, and South. Now, is there a middle ground, like a center in this ancient map of health?
There is. The central region. It's described as having a more diverse diet and less physical labor compared to the other regions.
So like a balanced center drawing from all the other areas.
In a way, yeah. But this balance has its own challenges, too.
Oh,
The text suggests that a lack of physical activity, and that mixed diet could lead to weakness, chills, and even fever.
So even in this balanced environment, there's still potential for disharmony.
Right. And of course, they had ways to address these issues, too.
Let me guess. More needling.
Actually, this time they focused on practices like Tai Chi and massage, methods that encourage the flow of qi.
Oh, so restoring balance through movement.
Exactly.
Wow. It's amazing how they tailored their approach to each region.
Really highlights the core message of this text. Effective healing, it comes from understanding the person in their context, not just the disease itself.
It's like each region is a piece of the puzzle. And to really understand health, you need to see how they all fit together. This is blowing my mind. But how does all this ancient wisdom apply to us today? I mean, we're not living in ancient China, right?
That is a great question. And it's actually exactly what we're going to explore in the next part of our deep dive.
Okay, I can't wait. All right, so we've explored this fascinating map of ancient China
Yeah.
and how each region's unique disposition, influences health.
Right.
It's like a health horoscope,
I like...
but based on geography.
Yeah.
But how do we apply these ancient insights to our modern lives?
That's the exciting part. While we may not be living in ancient China, the principles, they still resonate. It's about recognizing that connection between our environment, our lifestyle, and our well-being.
So even though our world looks so different, the underlying concepts, they still hold true.
Yeah. For instance, think about cold accumulation, remember? We
Yeah.
discussed it in the context of the North, right? Well, while we might not be battling those sub-zero temperatures and relying solely on dairy, a lot of us, we spend hours in climate-controlled environments.
Yeah, that's true.
We drink iced beverages and eat cold foods.
I never thought about it like that. But yeah, it makes sense. Could our modern habits be creating a similar effect of cold in the body?
It's definitely something to consider. Think about those common complaints we hear all the time. Digestive issues, low energy,
Yeah.
even certain types of pain. These could be signs of what traditional Chinese medicine might call cold, disrupting the body's natural flow of energy.
So instead of blaming it on just, being busy or getting older,
Right.
we might want to think about how our lifestyle choices are impacting our internal environment.
It is. And it kind of empowers us to take a more proactive approach to well-being,
Okay. Yeah.
For instance, if you're always feeling cold,
Yeah.
maybe think about incorporating warming foods and drinks.
Oh, okay.
Like ginger tea or soups could be beneficial.
Right. Yeah, that's a great example. It's like bringing a bit of that ancient wisdom into our modern kitchens. But what about the other regions? Are there things we can learn from them too?
Absolutely. Let's go back to the East.
Okay.
With that focus on skin conditions, we might not be using sharpened stones anymore, but the underlying principle,
Yeah.
addressing imbalances related to humidity, it still applies.
So if you live in a humid climate today and have skin issues,
Right.
you might want to consider how your environment is playing a role.
Exactly. It might mean, paying attention to your skincare routine,
Okay.
using natural remedies,
Like what?
aloe vera or tea tree oil,
Right.
or even, thinking about dietary changes
Wow.
to address any internal imbalances.
Right, that could be showing up on the skin.
Exactly.
I'm starting to see how these ancient principles, they're like a framework for understanding our health.
Yeah.
More holistically. It's not just about treating symptoms, but addressing the root causes.
That's it. And this applies to all the regions, right? The West, with that focus on potent herbs for internal imbalances. It reminds us that sometimes we need a little extra help to address those deeper issues.
It's like acknowledging that even if you're resilient, it doesn't mean you're immune to health challenges.
Right.
Sometimes you need a targeted approach to restore balance.
And then there's the South, with its gentle needling techniques,
Right.
really highlights the importance of listening to your body,
Yeah.
choosing the right interventions for your needs.
So even though we have, all this advanced medical technology, sometimes a simpler approach is better.
Could be, yeah. And lastly, we have the central region, remember?
Yeah.
With Tai Chi and massage. It reminds us how important movement is.
Yeah.
Maintaining that balanced flow of energy.
It's like a reminder that our bodies are meant to move.
They are.
And, incorporating movement can be so beneficial.
The great thing about this ancient text is it encourages us to be active participants in our well-being, not just passive recipients of healthcare.
Yeah, I love that. I'm seeing my own health and my environment in a whole new light after this. It's like a journey of self-discovery, but with this ancient guidebook.
I love that analogy, and just like any journey, there's always more to discover.
Okay, so we've journeyed through ancient China, explored all these fascinating connections between environment, lifestyle, and health, and even, started to see how these ancient principles could apply to us today. But before we go, what are some key takeaways? Like, what can our listener really put into practice?
For me, after all this, the biggest thing is awareness.
Awareness.
Yeah, this text, it's like it wants us to become really good observers of our own lives. Think about your daily habits, what you eat, how you're moving your body, what your surroundings are like, and how it's all impacting how you feel.
So it's about tuning in, paying attention to those details, and noticing those connections between our internal and external worlds.
Exactly. It's not about, becoming a health expert overnight.
Right.
It's more about just being curious and observing. Like, let's say you live in a busy city right now. Are you making time for quiet and stillness to balance that out? Or if you're in a colder climate, are you choosing foods and activities that bring warmth?
It's like creating a self-care routine that fits your context.
Yeah.
Just like they did back then.
Yeah, exactly. This text, it reminds us that there's no one right way to be healthy.
Right.
What works for one person might not work for another.
Yeah, that's true. And that's okay.
It's about finding what works for you.
I like that. It takes the pressure off,
Yeah.
trying to follow all these rules.
Yeah.
And instead it's like, hey, listen to your body.
Exactly. And, speaking of listening, another takeaway is the power of simple, natural remedies.
Oh, yeah.
This text talks about using food movement, even sharpen stones,
Yeah.
reminding us that healing doesn't have to be complicated.
That's like going back to basics, using what nature gives us.
Yeah. It's about that connection with nature and recognizing that healing power within us and all around us. And one last thought. I think this text encourages us to be open, open to different approaches. Just like Qibo acknowledged that there are many paths to healing, we can benefit from exploring, different perspectives.
So instead of getting caught up in one way of thinking,
Right.
we can just be curious and open.
Exactly. It's about embracing that journey of discovery and, recognizing that there's always more to learn.
Well, this has been incredible. It feels like we've only scratched the surface of this ancient wisdom, but wow, it's given me a lot to think about.
Me too. And I hope our listener feels the same. This isn't just ancient history, it's a guide to understanding how we're connected to the world around us and how that affects our health.
So as we wrap up, is there one final thought you'd like to leave our listener with?
Embrace that ancient wisdom, but also trust your own inner wisdom.
Yeah.
Listen to your body, pay attention to your surroundings, and make choices that support you.
Beautifully said. And a huge thank you to our listener for requesting this deep dive. It's been a pleasure exploring these ideas with you. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep those questions coming.